Hello, guys. It is Tequila. Welcome back to Single and Whole. So glad to have you guys back. I am currently at a park. It is a really warm, beautiful day where I am in Texas. The weather is not too hot, not too cold. It's like in the 70s. There's a nice breeze too. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for the beautiful weather that we're having today. So, today, the topic that we are going to talk about is what to do when you feel like you are in a bit of just a negative headspace. So this can be a funk. So I really thought about calling this episode How to Get Out of a Funk. However, I think funk in some ways is just not the right word to cover a variety of different concerns, because I think some things are more than a funk. Some things are a funk, but some things are more than a funk. So I want people to be able to relate to this episode, whether it is they just feel like a little bit off and they don't know why, or they are going through something that is heavier. I hope that the Lord just speaks through me and that you guys get something out of this episode. So, number one, how to get out of a negative headspace and what to do when you just feel off is to move. I feel like so many times when we just feel off in our lives, maybe we feel sad, maybe we just had a situation pop up that we weren't prepared for. A lot of times in the past, I know what I've done is I've just kind of shut off. I've shut off. I've just like hid under the covers, laid down, and I didn't move. Basically, I didn't take the time to, go outside, to decide to go to the grocery store and pick up a few things. So I would say, like, it's so easy. Like, our bodies, when things happen, sometimes they just want to stop ultimately, and they just want to rest and they want to rot, as I feel like a lot of people say. However, I think there can be a time and a place for this. However, if you're doing this and it's been a while, I would really encourage you to get up and get moving in some way, shape, or form. So, and you can start small. If you've just been rotting in your bed and you haven't been doing much, you've just been down and out about the situation, I would suggest, if you can, just get up and maybe go walk for 5 minutes or even 2 minutes. You can start small. More than likely, once you start walking, you'll keep walking. And then before you know it, you maybe have walked 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. So I know a lot of times when I incorporate movement in some way, shape, or form in my life, I feel better. I feel better. I feel recharged. I feel refreshed. And I feel even sometimes like a little bit more distance. I feel like I have some space from whatever the situation is. So I encourage you, definitely get out and incorporate movement in some way, shape, or form in your life. Like I said, it can be a walk. It can be pickleball. It can be stretching. It can be swimming, just whatever it is that works for you. I would suggest to you to incorporate movement in some way, shape, or form. Okay. So number two, I would say, is to also turn to the community that you have. I feel like I've been really blessed to where I have a really good community. I have a lot of fellow sisters in Christ who I know care about me and who I know I can call and I can pray with, and I can even maybe take the time to, to go out and go for a walk with them. So I would say if you have some type of community, definitely tap into that community during this time. Like, we weren't meant to be an island. We weren't meant to be alone. So definitely take advantage of the community you do have. And that can also be, too, like your family, like your mom, your dad, siblings even. Also, I would say, hopefully you were blessed enough to have a family that cares about you. I would say you could definitely tap into them as a resource as well. And I want to mention another point, too. So some of us maybe are in a situation where maybe we don't have community, or we are far from our community. Maybe you just moved. Maybe this is a fresh start for you and you're in an all new place. So maybe you have to rebuild that community. So I would say definitely, if you're in that situation, sometimes, you just kind of have to be the person to initiate sometimes. Definitely look for community around you. And sometimes you can start with people that maybe you have some type of connection to, but you don't even know it. So maybe you are living in a town and you do, or you've met one person before, and maybe it's through someone else. Maybe this is like a friend of a friend, or a family friend, or something along those lines ultimately. So I would say a lot of times it can be really helpful having some type of loose connection going in, even if it's someone you don't know super personally. Um, but I would say you could start there. Sometimes there's people that already, it's like you met that one person that one time randomly 5 years ago, but the Lord knew that 5 years later you guys were going to be in the exact same vicinity. So sometimes you can end up having a really good friend through that. I'm kind of talking to myself too. And then sometimes too, sometimes you just met that person and then nothing does come over it. Come of it. I would say, obviously don't put pressure on it, but I do think things happen for a reason. So maybe look through your contacts, look at the people in your phone that, okay, like this is my sister's old friend's swimming mate from back in the day. Like, you never know ultimately who you'll end up connecting with. And ultimately, it's just good to have some form of support system and just someone to talk to whenever it is we do feel off and are going through something. Not that you have to open up and fully share everything, but I would say too, sometimes it's not even about talking about the situation, but it's about just being with someone ultimately. Sometimes it does a lot of good to get up and go for coffee, and maybe you didn't talk about the situation at all, but you were with someone, that got you a little bit of distance from the situation, and hopefully you were able to connect with someone even if it wasn't over the situation that you're currently going through. So we were built for social interactions. The Lord made us that way. So definitely pray to him, ask him about who it is maybe that he wants you to connect with during this time. Okay, guys, moving right along. I would say the third thing to do also when you feel off is consider things from, I would say, a health perspective. I'm not sure the best way to phrase that. But basically what I'm trying to say is sometimes when our gut health is off, we're off. And that's something I'm learning more and more, I would say specifically with myself. Sometimes I'll just feel so off and like negative and like frustrated and like I don't know why. And then ultimately a lot of times it's because my gut is off a little bit. Like, ultimately, sorry if this is TMI, but I think it's important to talk about. You need to be having like bowel movements on a consistent basis in order to clear out the toxins that are in your body. So I feel like this is something we don't talk about enough. Is ultimately gut health has been. So many people have been talking about it here lately. It's been super popular. And I think probably it's because, all the foods that we do eat, there's just toxins everywhere, ultimately. So yeah, that could be a situation. Your gut could be off a little bit, and that could be part of the reason why you're feeling off emotionally, why you're feeling all of a sudden anxious or just down or even angry a little bit. So I would say definitely check into that. And there's lots of information online about that. Feel free to you can YouTube stuff, you can Google stuff. If you want some more information, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. But yeah, I would say look into that. And then also too, obviously, we as women, everyone has hormones, but our hormones fluctuate way, 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 way more than a man's hormones fluctuate. So part of the reason you might feel off might be because your period is right around the corner. So definitely look into that as well. Maybe pull out a calendar and see, hey, is my cycle, is she coming up? And that's the reason ultimately I'm feeling a little bit off. So that could be part of the reason, ultimately. Another reason I would say is, well, we're gonna stick with the hormones. We're gonna stick with the hormones. So also too, I guess a greater concern, and this is something that's facing a lot of women, is your hormones could be off a little bit, and that could also be part of the reason why your mental health is off, and even why you're maybe noticing some other weird physical symptoms. So I would say definitely look into that. Like, would you say that you're more angry than normal, more irritable? Do you have consistent periods? Do they always show up around the same time? So yeah, we definitely have to take care of our hormonal health and our reproductive health and everything. So ultimately, of course, like, I'm not a doctor, but I think, it's just worth just be aware of, like, of your body ultimately, and how it's changing, if it is changing in any way, shape, or form. And then, of course, like, if you are concerned, you know, hopefully just go to your doctor, like a trusted doctor, a trusted source, and then you can talk to him or her about these concerns that you're having, and they can hopefully show you how to proceed from there. But yeah, also I think there's just a lot of other things we can do too, to help treat our different situations. So I would just definitely recommend to you, to look up some things you can do personally to help like balance like your hormones as well. Okay, so far we've got 3 things that you could do. I hope everyone is enjoying this video. If you are enjoying this video, please let me know in the comments below. And also, one thing I would really, really like to know is what you would like to see podcast episodes over. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I can't wait to see what you guys suggest. Okay, let's move right along. Okay, I would say the 4th thing to do when you just feel off and you just feel in a rut, or you just feel heavy, or maybe something hard has happened, I would say find some type of way to process that. So it's going to differ for every person. I know for me, sometimes I kind of just withdraw from everything, which it's not the best, but sometimes it is the best. Some of us are just more introverted. Some people are extroverted. Some people are more introverted. Some people are ambiverted. A little bit of both. But I would say you have to find a way to process what you're going through, or else it likely will manifest in negative ways, ultimately, that you probably were not intending for it to manifest in. So it can manifest in, ultimately, just in different ways. I would say, if you're going through something and you don't take the time to process it, it's going to likely affect the people around you. So if you're married, I know this is called single and whole, but if you're married, and you don't take the time to process what you're going through, you're likely gonna maybe take that out on your spouse or on your children if you have children, or even you can like turn inwardly and even take it out on yourself ultimately, if you don't take the time to process whatever it is you're feeling and whatever it is that you are going through. And I think too, also, it can look like, maybe depending on what you're going through, sometimes it can look like just negative patterns too. Like, are you always like, of course, this is called single and whole, so we're going to talk about singleness, dating, all that good stuff. So, and a lot of us have heard of attachment styles. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I don't think we're going to go too in depth. But basically, I would say, like, are you always, like, you're in a relationship and you're getting close to someone, and then for some reason you find a reason to cut it off. And it wasn't even really a good reason, ultimately. Like, you didn't like the way he used his fork or something like that. Like, something ridiculous. So I would say sometimes when people do things like that, they're always ending relationships, and then they look up and they wonder kind of like why they, haven't entered the relationship that they want, sometimes that is coming from a place of trauma. Like maybe no one around them was stable, and so now a stable relationship scares them. Or it can also be the opposite. You're always jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship, and even worse, you're always jumping from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship. Also, typically, it's that subconscious trauma popping up. So I'm telling y'all, if you do not take the time, it doesn't have to just manifest in relationships. It can manifest in friendships. It can manifest in your employment and jobs ultimately, or you always like quitting places. Or it can manifest in different ways. So process it so you can understand it more, and then ultimately you hopefully can heal more from it. So, I think we're gonna stop it right here. If you want a part 2 of this video, let me know. Well, actually, before we close the video, before we conclude, I just want to talk a little bit about how I feel like this relates to singleness and to becoming more whole, ultimately. Because some people are maybe listening to this and wondering, like, how it relates in any way, shape, or form. So, ultimately, us singles, of course, I want you to watch this if you're married too, but as single people, if we do not take the time to learn healthy coping mechanisms and healthy ways to heal and healthy ways to deal with things right now, it will affect our future marriage and it will likely affect our future families. So that's one of the reasons why singleness really is a gift. It's like the Lord has given you the time to work with Him, to be able to learn how to deal with these things in a healthy way now. Because I was listening to a sermon this morning, and it was really good. It really, the lady who spoke the sermon said some really good points. But she was basically saying, like, human suffering, like if you have breath in your body, human suffering is a common experience. Like we can't escape it. It's something that like you can't escape it. Like there's no person on this earth who can honestly say that they've never went through anything. Now I know some people have maybe gone through more traumatic events than others. I do want to highlight that and share that ultimately. However, like no matter what, like you've went through something. Especially the older you get the more just life you experience, the more big or small things kind of just happen ultimately because that's life and we live in a fallen world and we live in a world that is not perfect. So human suffering will always be a common experience of every single person walking this earth right now. So of course when you get married now, like of course like it's not going to stop. Like sometimes we look for marriage to like fill our motorcycle to fill our problems or to complete us in some way. But we'd be all fooling ourselves if we thought as soon as we get married, our life is going to be perfect. It's just going to be peaches and cream, smooth sailing from this point forth. So that's why you have to make sure that you are the right person ultimately, that you know how to deal with things in a healthy way when they do come up, that you, even when just things emotionally you feel off and nothing has happened, you don't know why, you have to be able to work with the Lord to process that in a healthy way or to find like a healthy solution to it. Ultimately, it's important to do that now because now after you get married there's another person in the midst and it's not fair to them to now put your trauma and your baggage and your issues onto that person. And it's probably going to be hurtful to you too because obviously if you really do love this person you don't want them to deal with all the things it is that you also are dealing with. Now, do not get it twisted. We are called to share each other's burdens. So nobody's going to go into marriage completely and totally fully perfected, fully healed, fully whole. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if the Lord has given you this time in your singleness to work on some things, which I think is good and godly, then let's ultimately work on those things in Him. So hopefully maybe the load can be a little bit lighter when we do get married. Maybe not completely gone, but a little lighter. So ultimately that is how this episode relates to singleness and how it relates to being more whole. And I think I am going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed this episode, please maybe share it with a friend. Tell me that you liked it in the comments below. Tell me what you want to see, what you want me to film and talk about in the comments below. And with that, I'm going to head out. See you in the next one. Hope you have a blessed day. Bye.